Okay guys, and welcome back to video 3 on cell biology basics. So in the last video we were looking at the functions of life in different organisms and how they apply, and we also looked at cell theory. And we talked about what cells do, and that they generally don't keep getting bigger and bigger, and that they'll grow up to a certain point and then suddenly they will divide into smaller cells, okay? And they will either do that by a process known as mitosis, where they create clones of themselves, or if they need to create a genetically new cell that has half genetic information, i.e. making sex cells like sperm or egg, then they're going to split and make new cells by something called meiosis, okay? There are different forms of mitosis in terms of bacteria. They often do it by a process known as binary fission, which we'll come to later. So what we're going to look at first is simply why don't cells just keep getting bigger and bigger, okay? What is limiting them and how big they can get? What stops them growing into these huge building-sized blobs of blobbiness that roam the earth and ingest humans, okay? Because obviously that's generally not happening, is it? Let's be honest. All right, so let's have a look at, first of all, this big cells versus small cells, okay? So let's have a look at a small cell first of all, and let's try and work out its volume. Now, if each side of this cell is 1 centimeter, okay, that means we can work out the volume, okay, by going 1 times 1 times 1, okay? Obviously, you can work that out yourself. 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Now, the surface area, okay, of this, obviously, is how much space there is around the outside. So each side is 1 centimeter or 1 whatever square, let's say it's a centimeter, and there are 6 sides, so the surface area is 6. And so we can set the surface area to volume ratio is 6 to 1, okay? Which means that we have a very large surface area to volume ratio. Now if we consider a much bigger cell, okay, that is cuboid shaped, okay, and if each side is 3 units in length, size and width, then that gives us a volume of 27. Now if we work out the surface area of that, okay, that gives us a surface area of, if you think that, 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 6 gives us 54. So if you work out that surface area, now our surface area to volume ratio has dropped from 6 to 1 to a surface area to volume ratio of 2 to 1. Now, obviously, well maybe not obviously, okay, but that can pose a few problems. Because the plasma membrane, obviously, which is what the barrier on the outside of this cube represents, is the cell membrane, is responsible for importing and exporting materials in and out of the cell. And of course, metabolic reactions occur on these membranes. So if we have a really large surface area to volume ratio, i.e. a 6 to 1, it means that the cell can act very efficiently. So for every unit of volume that requires nutrients or waste products, there is more membrane to serve it, okay? So imagine within the cytoplasm or the inside of this cube, you've got all the reactions happening, okay? Let's say it's a plant cell, so you've got photosynthesis and respiration, you've got protein synthesis, DNA synthesis, all this stuff going on, okay? And if you've got a really high surface area to volume ratio, it means the things that need to get into the cell to supply those processes and all the waste products can get out of the cell much more easily. Whereas as the cell gets bigger and bigger and bigger, that surface area to volume ratio is decreasing, okay? And so there is less surface area to service the increased volume that we're getting because the cell has grown, okay? And so this is the main thing that is stopping organisms from growing, single-celled organisms from growing to a much bigger size, okay? It's much easier for them then to just replicate all their internal bits and divide into 2, okay? Okay, a few more key bits of information. So diffusion if you've got a really large surface area to volume ratio, you're obviously going to have diffusion pathways which are much shorter. So from the center of the cell to the outside, it's going to be a much shorter distance, and so diffusion is much more efficient. And so molecules do not have to travel so far to get in and out of the cell, and so it takes less time. Now, if it's an active transport, which means if the transport of the substance that's getting in or out requires energy, it's going to require less energy to do that. It also means that if your cell is small, okay, it means you can generate a concentration gradient much more easily, which makes, again, diffusion more efficient, okay? So a large surface area to volume ratio is not always an advantage. So small, warm-blooded mammals lose heat very quickly due to their large surface area to volume ratio. So they need to eat almost constantly, okay? And you can think about that. On a cold day, you get more hungry than you do on a hot day. And that's because, okay, we're losing heat more quickly. And of course, desert plants would lose more water quickly with flat leaves, so they minimize their surface area to volume ratio in order to conserve their water. Some plants change their metabolism. We call those CAM plants to save water. Now, if you do HL biology, we'll look at CAM plants in more detail further on in the course. All right, so how do organisms maximize their surface area to volume ratio? So the key idea is that they need to divide. Two small cells are much more efficient than one cell. And so within that, we also get cell differentiation, specialized functions, and more complex multicellular life. Okay? We also know that cells do something called compartmentalization. So they enclose things within membranes. So mitochondria, for instance, are enclosed within their own membrane, as are chloroplasts. Okay, and we call these things that we might find within the cell organelles. And again, that is increasing their surface area to volume ratio. Some organs, such as the intestines, fold up to maximize their surface area to volume ratio, making absorption of food much more efficient. Again, the alveoli is another example of that, and root hairs in cells also do the same thing. Okay, so let's summarize that idea. So in summary, we can see that the rate of metabolism of a cell is a function of its mass and its volume. And the rate of material exchange in and out of the cell is a function of its surface area. As the cell grows, volume increases faster than surface area, leading to a decreased surface area to volume ratio. If the metabolic rate is greater than the rate of exchange of vital materials and waste, the cell will die. Hence, the cell must consequently divide in order to restore a viable surface area to volume ratio. Cells and tissues specialized for gas and material exchange will also increase their surface area to optimize that transfer. Okay, we're going to stop that video there. Thank you for listening.